Fellow Ghanaians, thank you for joining us on Upfront on the JoyNews channel. It's a Thursday, and today we have a very important conversation because there are many of us who have talked about the need for Ghana to become a developed country. You've talked about how you think that we need to expand. We need to expand as a country. We need to grow as a country and ensure that all the things you see elsewhere, the technological advancements that you see and are very proud of, we have them in our country, Ghana. So this evening, the conversation is on how we could do so using research. Something we hardly talk about in our part of the world. In fact, there's been lots of conversations about how we intend to increase research and development in this country. But there's a Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. I'm sure that rings a bell. Tonight, our focus is on industrial research. We're looking at the role that industrial research would play in a country's development. It's particularly important because if you look at 2020, in the midst of COVID, it was only the industrial sector that saw a contraction. Services, not so well, but it improved. I mean, there was growth. So was the case with agriculture. Industry, no, it contracted. So the question is, what are we not doing right? And tonight we're joined by one person who knows a lot about industrial research. In fact, I credit him, not I crediting him, but years ago at the Cardiff University, his exploits could tell for everybody to see, having built a solar cooling system for one of the main departments of the university, the School of Journalism, Media and Cultural Studies, have been dean at the Graduate School of the Ghana Technology University College. My guest, Dr. Francis Boateng. Doc, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much.
And it's been a very long time, I know. I hope everything is well with you.
Everything is going very well, as planned.
As planned?
Yes.
All that you've planned is going according to the plan?
It's going very well.
Including the research that you're supposed to do industrially?
Yes. I think it's quite interesting and it's also a bit new, the way we do research in Ghana. And so far, I think it's going well.
What is going well? Because for many of us, what we want to see is not what we are seeing. I mean, we've talked about the need to research, but for me today, the focus is on industrial research because you are the director of the Institute of Industrial Research of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. The most important thing, before we get into all the things that you have been doing, tell us the relevance of this institute in our quest for industrial development.
Okay. To start with, let me give you a brief background of what this institute was set up to do. This was set up during the Kwame Nkrumah era, and the idea was bring scientific outputs to industry. So even the location of this institute has a significance. It was by then supposed to come between the then University of Ghana and Tema, which was the industrial hub.
Okay.
Which meant that for all research outputs from universities, from the scientific community, they could be piloted and prototyped here and provide access to the industrial world to pick it up and then replicate them for society's development. So Kwame Nkrumah saw this big vision from the beginning in the 50s to establish the Institute of Industrial Research under the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research in East Legon here. So the importance of industrial research.
And before you continue, so Kwame Nkrumah set this up to be able to lead our industrial revolution. Yeah. Have we done that?
It is a no.
Why haven't we done that?
First of all, let me again talk about the reason for setting up was for Council for Scientific and Industrial Research generally to be a public good.
Okay.
Whatever was produced here was meant to be taken up by the government for it to be developed for society to develop, for society to benefit from
So here you're
it.
talking about the research that you conduct.
The research output
The output of your research should be
will
for
have
the
to-
societal good.
for societal good and for the development of the country. Unfortunately, there's been some changes along the line, and now we are expected not only to sell our products, but also to go commercial on whatever we develop, which means that the government is no more taking up the output from our research for the country's development.
Why that decision? I mean, why did we decide that it no longer will be compulsory for us as a people to take the output of your research?
I think the world is changing, and we must understand that when it comes to research, it takes a bit of time and some investment to actually develop research products. And most of the time, for countries that invest in research, you see how they develop. It is no coincidence that you will find countries like Malaysia, South Korea, the USA developing because they dedicate part of their GDP, a higher percentage of their GDP, to research. USA dedicates more than 3% of its GDP towards research. South Korea is about 4.8 or so, the last time I checked, of its GDP goes into research. In Ghana, we have less than 0.4% of our GDP going to research. And just a couple of years ago, it was agreed that we should move this to 1%. And as at now, that has not been implemented.
So in effect, what you're telling us is that as a country, we don't seem to be serious about research.
Exactly, that is what it is. We do not put investment, we do not put in any effort. First, to develop our research institutions. Second, to support researchers to develop products. And third, for us to take up the output from research. We will take you around to see some of the things that we have done, which are sitting here. Yet, the ordinary person on the street will benefit so much from it, yet they have no access to that.
You're paid by government, aren't you?
We are paid by government. Salaries.
Yes.
Are paid by government.
The salaries are paid by government. So who funds your research? Doesn't government fund your research?
This is an interesting area that I have my own personal opinion, and also I have what it is that the policy is.
So what's the policy currently?
The policy currently is that, one, the government pays our salaries, but we are not on government subvention. And no money is given to pay for our electricity. No money is given to pay for the utilities. And no money is given for us to equip our labs. And no money is given to us to do research.
So how do you cope?
So we apply to funding bodies, and usually international bodies. We compete with other organizations around the world, win a project, implement them here, and after that, the output from our project is then communicated back to the funder. He who pays the piper calls the tune.
So in effect, you work for these international bodies,
and they improve on their outputs and sell them back to us.
they bring it back to us in Ghana.
That is what it is.
What are some of the things you have done that have gone round and come back to us?
There are several of these.
Share some of them with
We look at even the system that was installed in Cardiff. I have been back in Ghana here for years. No funds has been allocated to implement
Talking
this in
about
Ghana.
the system in Cardiff, we'll continue with that, but
Yeah.
tell us about the system in Cardiff, because that's a major thing that you did there.
One of the major things that I did for my studies at the PhD level was to look at how we could reduce consumption by air conditioners. You know, a lot of the electricity that we consume in our homes and offices are for cooling. In Ghana, we have close to about 50% of our consumption in offices coming from the use of air conditioners.
Okay.
So a new technology using an absorption process of storing solar energy in a sugar-based material called erythritol that is able to store the energy and is used in powering the air conditioner, that you don't have to use the electricity generated for that, and it's used perfectly for cooling. So it's about heating and cooling. It heats a substance, differentiates between the two, and as it cools the building. So the use of solar to power air conditioner without necessarily powering fully with electricity.
And you developed this for the Butte building
Yes.
at Cardiff University?
Yes, this was developed at Cardiff University. Not just developed, constructed, and it worked very perfectly. I'm sure you would have seen it. You would have
I
probably
was there.
seen it.
I was there at the time, so
Yes.
I certainly would have been a beneficiary of that.
Yes.
But that's something that you did. So
Yes.
your competence not in doubt.
Yes.
What other things as an institute have you done that has gone outside and come back to us to be used when we could have actually done it and used it internally?
Okay, when it comes to, we know how we all operate. When it comes to bringing back what I have probably not that was stolen from you, I will have to repackage it, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But the idea, the concept of, one very good concept that we are employing here, which we have employed for 2.5 years, is what we call zero waste disposal community. And this is something that we have done for 2.5 years, that no single waste on this campus goes out, including even human waste. Every single waste that we generate here, we segregate them, we use biodigester, we use incinerator, and you can see from here, we have got plastic materials made from the waste plastics that are thrown around, and this concept has, one way or the other, I will not call names, has been adopted by some companies and some institutions abroad, and it comes back with different names and shape.
Okay.
But it is only left with you to who initiated some of these things to really understand. So there are a lot of them. We're doing some community work in different parts of the country, and the results go to them, and it is applied to their communities, some of the outputs we get here. And it goes to any other African country without your knowledge. It's not only restricted to my institute. If you go to other CSI institutes, the same. They pick some of their products, and there is a well-known brand in the country that was developed by CSIR, and somebody is rich from it. So we all know.
Was that? I don't know.
For some special reason, some of these things we will have to not mention names in order that we don't collapse somebody's business, or there is a law court to deal with it. But generally, CSIR has got in excess of 100 products, but most of these are picked by individuals.
So, how does it feel knowing that you do all of these things which would go a long way in propelling the country's development, and yet much is not being done?
It's painful. It's painful. It is very, very, very painful to know that you are putting in the best for the benefit of society, and it is not being recognized, or it's not being taken up by either government, society, industry to bring them up for the development of society. And yet you see young boys and girls on the street who could have one way or the other benefited from some of the things that we have developed here.
You have a Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation. I mean, they're supposed to be championing these. Have you been speaking to them? And in your conversations with them, what do they tell you?
Yes, we have worked very much hand in hand with MESTI, and they have been very, very supportive. And sometimes we could also understand that part of the program is not just the politicians, but us also, we contribute to some of these programs. I think the technocrats should be able to also set policy directions for government to follow, rather than the government always coming up with policies that we have to adopt to. So some of the things that we do, we should also be strong enough to say that this is what the country needs, and for that reason, we are happy, or we are putting this on the table of MESTI Minister, who has encouraged us, Dr. Afriye, really very much to bring things that we want replicated or done to help the country to
Have you sent any of them?
We have prepared some of them, and it will hit his desk
very soon. You had Professor Kobna from Pomboating.
Yes.
Earlier,
yes,
was minister.
Yes.
Well known.
Yes.
He does a few things. He has a few inventions to his credit.
Yes.
What did he do for you?
Yes, he did very, very well for me, in my institute in particular. We came up with the idea of foundry technology, and he supported us to have a foundry, and it is being constructed on our campus here. And very soon, we'll have a foundry and then a machine center, such that we can melt metals and cut small bolts and nuts. So yes, this was put forward to him, what we needed, and he supported us very much with that. So yes.
So you just sent him one proposal?
At the time, I can also understand where the funding is coming from, and sometimes.
What's this issue with funding? I mean, I'm interested in this. Look, we need something.
Yes.
As part of your mandate, you're supposed to trigger,
yes.
Research that would help develop
yes.
a country. Yes. You're supposed to assist SMEs with,
yes.
With your research outputs to be able to develop the country. So,
yes.
what's this whole issue about funding? I mean, it's like you're understanding, you're explaining a problem that you're facing to me. That problem should be solved.
Okay. I have mentioned this before, and let me repeat it. At the moment, the Institute of Industrial Research, or generally the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, is not funded in terms of equipment, in terms of research, but it is only our salaries which are paid.
What would you have preferred?
There are different models to learn from. In the Western world, I think probably they might have gone through this same process where we are now. They will normally give power to the institutes to recruit the kind of people that they need, and people will come in and work on projects rather than being given permanent jobs. That is one of the important things. And also, they partner the government in conducting the research. For example, if it is an issue with energy that we have to solve, send out call for proposals. Let us compete. Whoever wins solves the problem. This is a model that is used everywhere, and it is successful. But to be paid salaries and not having the resources to do research is really very, very difficult.
So you want to be given a chance to compete
yes.
with other fair institutions.
Yes.
And if you win,
yes.
you're giving a chance to develop some of these things.
Yes, we get the opportunity.
What is stopping you?
Where are the funds?
But you bid for other projects internationally.
Yes, but where are the funds in Ghana to bid for?
But there are a lot of projects around.
Most of them are internationally sponsored.
Yes, some are also government of Ghana sponsored.
The government of Ghana sponsored projects we do bid for them, but we also at a disadvantage.
Why are you
I
at
think
a
you can
disadvantage?
understand where I'm coming from. We are competing with industry. And I think you know there's some of the industrial norms.
What are those norms?
Winston,
Yes,
I think you,
I don't
yes,
know the norms
I
you're
think
talking
we know what it is to bid and win a project in Ghana.
Funding?
Yes.
You don't have the funds to engage in the systems of Ghana.
That is what it is. I don't want it to come from my mouth, but I think you understand that when it comes to bidding for projects, it is not always about the quality of the project or your proposal. It is not about, it's not always about the quality of the proposal that you are submitting. It could be the others that wins the project. We do compete with the private companies. So we go to the newspapers, check them, see what is there, and then we apply. So we have got a whole projects office that looks after this. But most often we don't win. So this is where we want some kind of policy direction for the government to support and to say that we are not asking the government just give us the projects. We are asking the government to collaborate with us, see us as developmental partners, and work with the project, work on the project so that I can benefit society.
Okay. Well, my guest is Dr. Francis Boating Ejenim, who is Director of the Institute of Industrial Research of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research here on Upfront. And we're understanding some of the things that they've been doing. But so we'll get to, some of the researches that you have done and what you're doing currently. But how about SMEs, the private sector? How are you collaborating with them?
We have worked very much with Association of Ghana Industries, Private Enterprise Federation, and we have very good collaboration with them to support industries. I think this is really a very important area that we will want to advance further as years come by. The reason being that for most companies in Ghana, a lot of the companies that we saw when we were young, a lot of them have folded up. The reason, one of the key reasons is that they do not have research support. So we've taken advantage of this, and we have started a very simple process of establishing what we call Industrial Innovation Hub.
Okay.
And it brings together public and private organizations under the same roof, in the same room, to learn from each other. And so we offer 3 things to companies that sit with us here on our campus. And so far, we've got about 4 different companies sitting with us. The first one, we support them with research. 2, we support them with product development. And 3, we support them with quality assurance. So for any product that they develop, before it goes out, we will do the testing and support them so that the quality of the product going out is to the satisfaction of their customers. Okay. So we have opened up this door as one way of working with private sectors, and a lot of the SMEs are knocking on our door to sit with us here. And you have access to all the research scientists. They can provide you with research, they can support you with product development, and they can support you with quality assurance. And our doors are open for companies that will want us to support them in terms of research.
And these companies are coming forward to you?
Yes, we have so far been quite successful since we started.
So that should solve your funding issues?
Yes, what we are trying to do or establish is to go at the next step of wanting to be part of the product that they develop. That if they could help us, or we could sign an agreement to have 1 or 2% of the profit from the product that we support them to develop, then it goes to a fund, and that fund can then be recycled to support other companies. So we're looking forward to that. That conversation has started, and it is something that we think will not eliminate all the hardships, but could go a long way to support us in our development as a research institution.
Let's look at some of the things that you've done. I mean, it's very important. Of course, I have seen a few things outside, but what are some of the researches, I mean, the output of your research? Share them with us.
Okay. There are some key divisions that we have got here which relate to industry, directly to industry. The first one, or the first of our divisions, is Energy Technologies Division. We do a lot of research into solar energy systems to look at where and how to install some of these solar energy systems, to look at their performances and what influences their performances. We are moving to the next stage of establishing a lab that will look at testing for all solar systems that come to the country.
Okay.
So that we can assist the solar industry for its growth. We support electricians and technical engineers and train them on how to install and maintain various renewable energy systems. So that has to do with the energy division. Then we have what we call engineering design and prototyping division. It looks at how we build various implements and equipment. And I can tell you, we have built so many things out there that people don't know that it came from.
What are those things that you've built?
We built what we call waste-to-energy plant.
Waste-to-energy plant?
Yes, waste-to-energy. We are able to take waste, build a system, a digester that produces gas, and the gas is used in producing either electricity or used for cooking or piped into our labs for use. And we have built a few of these in the country. One of them is IUMI project, which is sitting at the Legon farms. This was constructed right here from scratch.
Okay.
And we produce fertilizer, compost. And these are being sold and run by Jekora Ventures. It was built by Institute of Industrial Research. At the moment, we are part of a consortium constructing a plant, a waste-to-energy plant, 400 kilowatts at Jankoba in the Ashanti region. These are supported, designed, and sometimes constructed by our engineers here at Institute of Industrial Research.
Okay.
So we have built several agricultural implements, and just recently the government has engaged us to look at producing planters and a lot of other agricultural implements so that we can support the rice, soya bean farmers to improve their yield so that we become self-sustainable in terms of rice. This is something that we take very, very seriously.
So at least the government is engaging you somewhere?
Yes, at this stage, it has just started. So let's see how it goes.
Have you started building it? I mean, now that the government is engaging
These are things that we have built before. And we brought this.
You built for the private sector?
Yes, we built for the private sector. Individuals working here with their ideas. We put the ideas on paper, design, construct, and test, and give it back to them, which we have done. And you will see, we have already constructed a machine we call God. I hope God will not punish us for calling this machine God. And it is Gata operating system. Gata operating device.
What is it about?
It removes waste from the gutters. And we built this in partnership.
Gata operating
device. And we call it God.
And it removes waste from the gutters?
Yes.
But that's one thing that we would need because we have lots of waste in our drainages in this country.
We actually partnered a private organization, a private institution called DTI, Design Technology Institute, and it is built by young boys. The guys are now up to 25 years. You will see them at the field. They have built this whole system. So, I mean, there is a lot of.
How does that work? I mean, I'm interested how that. How does the Gata operating device work?
We have a system that is powered with what is it? A small motor, and as it runs, it collects the waste from the gutter, and then it is used. It is dumped into a bigger container. so that the gutters will be free and water can run through them.
Have you tried this system?
Yes, we have. We have. This is the first prototype that we have done with
No, but if you have this system in Ghana, Dr. Boateng Ejini, we should not be going through a lot of the problems.
We are working with the private sector, so they also depend.
Have you pitched this to government?
I think we have tested this. It is working well, and this is just what we call the alpha version, which is the prototype. So we're looking to look at upscaling it in future.
You should be speaking to the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation.
Yes, that will be the plan. But we scientists will always want to see that it is working perfectly and there are no issues. We don't want any disappointments. So,
you don't need any extra funding?
I think this initially was proposed by the private sector. They brought it here, we worked with them, and then constructed it. So this is something that we also have to make sure that we are working with them in this. The funding will come later, especially when we need to produce them in numbers.
How about irrigation? Because it's one of the things that we've been, we've gone through lots of lectures about irrigation, and if I take government documents right from the budget, it's always been there. You have any research output in that?
We have worked very well in producing what we call a mobile controlled solar powered irrigation system. The system is such that you can use a mobile phone remotely in every part of the world to start and stop a pump. All that you need is a mobile phone. So you do not, as a farmer, need to go to your farm before you do irrigation.
You could be anywhere.
You could be anywhere in the world. It uses a program that has been developed in-house, the solar system that has been constructed in-house, the piping system to irrigate that has been constructed in-house. And we use this to grow food, and you can see it here on our compound. Combined with the compost that we produce, we grow food locally.
But I mean, I'm just curious, what happens to that, those foods that you grow locally?
We sell some of them, but as a director, from time to time, I think you also have to taste and see how good these products are.
Yours is to serve. I mean, how do you testing this would amount to working for your stomach? But you sell some of these.
Yes, we sell some of these. So these are all part of the systems that we do to support ourselves. And just recently, we've had one big company approaching us to look at possibility of doing this on a bigger farm for them, so that they can also do irrigation remotely, which we are very happy with.
But of course, the other challenges, the water systems. I mean, how do you get water all the time when you're talking about irrigation? Because we've always looked at areas that we believe we could get water. I mean, recently we've talked about the Palugu multi-purpose dam, because we think that, along the White Vault and also with the Bagri Dam spillage, this could tap into that water and use it for irrigation purposes. What you're doing, what becomes the source, the water source for the irrigation?
There are different sources. The issue is not about the source, it's about the technology. I think we have got water all over the country. If it is a stream water, you can put the pump on the stream water to do the irrigation. If you don't have stream water, you don't have a dam, you can drill a borehole. On our compound here, we have drilled a borehole, and it is the borehole that supplies water to all the offices. So, yes, I think this is where we will normally ask for the government's intervention in areas like this, where one dam, one village, one dam, where we could employ this kind of technology, planting for food and jobs, where we could employ this kind of technology to support the government. In this area.
Talking about, I mean, the one village, one dam, are you by this suggesting that the approach that we use, we could have used a different approach? Because we dug, I mean, we had, more like wells that we dug. And
Yes.
Could we have used a different approach?
I think there is good enough local expertise as to whether we are being used to support the government in this initiative, which we think is an excellent idea.
What would you have done differently if the industrial research had been, Institute of Industrial Research had been contacted?
Of course, being the director of the institute, the first thing I would have said is that get all the research that is to be done to support and sustain the implementation of these dams. Engage Institute of Industrial Research, engage Water Research Institute, because they have done a lot of research with a lot of outputs that could support the government interventions. And I will not straight away bring people who will supervise or create any office. I would rather use the institutions, the established institutions, to monitor and evaluate and support the research into the sustainability.
Based on your expertise, do you think what we did was right?
I can understand the approach because the government wants results very quickly. And certain
Should that be the case?
From where it has worked, it has not always been the case that you have to set up a whole office to look after those. But rather, they use the institutions.
When it comes to one village, one dam, for instance,
yes,
should we have done it the way we did it?
I think we should have employed more of established institutions to support any small office or whatever that will be created.
And these established institutions, including yours,
yes,
what beyond the research that you've done? Also, because you build, the question is, what would have been the difference if you had been involved?
One of the important things that we always seem to forget as a country is the fact that maintenance of systems that we develop. There is always a fanfare when we commence a project and then commission a project. But afterwards, not many of the systems or government systems work as they should be. So in our role as research institutes, I think the first thing we could have been involved is to conduct research into where these should be located. That's number one. Number two, in the implementation, we could be involved in bringing out some of the technologies that we have from our institutes. And the third one would have been monitoring, evaluation, maintenance of the system. There should be some people charged with maintaining the dams. It is not something that you create and it is just sitting there and it works. No, it has to be serviced. Okay. The machinery, the pumps that we use in these dams, who takes care of them? If even the contract is not with some of these institutes, they should be able to actually act as consultants to look after and make sure that these systems are working.
We'll come back to this. My guest this evening on Upfront on the JoyNews channel is Dr. Francis Boateng-Agyenim, who is the director of the Institute of Industrial Research under the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. My name is Winston Amwa. Stay with us. We'll be right back. So welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us here on Upfront on the JoyNews channel. I'm Winston Amwa, and today our focus is on industrial research, and we're privileged to be at the Institute for Industrial Research of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. And our guest this evening is Dr. Francis Boateng-Agyenim, who's the director of the Institute. So we're talking about some of the things that you've done. We've also talked about what you would have done differently with the One Village, One Dam. Let's look at Galamsey. There was a whole lot of talk about the tracking system, and we had drones and all of that. But how else could we have fought all of this? Do you have anything you have done to deal with it?
Thank you, Winston. This is something that we have done here. Knowing that this is a national issue, we've come up with the development of a mobile tracking system that is able to track people, for example, who enter into forests and areas or our water bodies which are not allowed. And once it picks them up, it can follow them up to see whatever they are doing.
It follows them up?
Yes.
How?
And every minute, whatever action that they are doing.
So do you have to install cameras there or what?
Yeah, there is a small camera that has to be installed, which is 360 degrees, and it can follow up the person wherever they are. And this is developed by a brilliant scientist in CSR, Institute of Industrial Research. And we are looking to roll this out very soon. And instead of sending soldiers and policemen to go and stay at the place, and so we know what has come out of it. Sometimes we hear of corruption because they stay there for some time and they also become part of the Galamsey issue. Now what we're trying to do is develop this system such that there will be no physical presence there. But if you enter the forest, a signal is sent to the right authority to see that, hey, these guys are entering with this kind of equipment, and after every 1 minute, they are being followed, and it can give you the information of the activities, and then you can then send soldiers or drone or whatever to go and arrest them.
Have you shared this with the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources?
This has not been shared yet, but we've developed to a stage.
What are you waiting for?
I think, as you know, we, as research scientists, we want to make sure that this is working very well. Now, we've tried it on our campus here, and if you enter our campus, we have possibility of tracking you, even in our absence.
So wherever I
on
pass
weekends.
on campus, you'll find me?
Once you come to the radar and you are picked, you can be followed.
On campus?
Yeah, on campus here.
Not when I'm going to my house?
Yes. If you move out from here, but we would have gotten your details. We can also use it for crime. With all the crime, unresolved issues of crime, if we have got these installed on traffic lights.
Well, we have some cameras installed
Yes.
at that point, but these are things that you could have done. And I'm sure for those watching us, the question they'll be asking is, why now? I mean, you're telling us, oh, we've done this, we've done this. It's like you're doing a lot of things, but these are things that should be out there for us to know and be having the conversation.
Winston, support is very, very important. Support is we as research scientists, the limitation we have is that we don't have access to a lot of funds or a lot of money to roll out some of the things that we do. And for this reason, I think it is something that we would need companies to actually come to work with us to roll out some of these issues. So yes, we are trying to do our best. Recently, we have engaged people from the media. We've engaged PROs who will help us bring this to the attention of our people.
So let's look at one thing. So with this particular, thing that you've developed when it comes to that you believe can help even fight illegal mining. So when they get somewhere, you know where they are.
Yes.
But you still would need people to go there and arrest them.
Yes, but it will not be for people to go and live there, you can't be everywhere all the time. Most of the time, they move from one village or one community to the other, and then as soon as you leave, they go back to business as usual.
So we've been talking about the things that you've done. Let's look at the things that you are in the pipeline.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you want to do? And I know that, researchers, every year you have plans.
Yes.
And in the medium term also you have plans. What are some of the things you want to do now? Okay.
Let me start with what is very close, what we are close to getting, and what I think the future is. We have, as usual, we've applied to African Union, and we are very close to getting funding to go into mechatronics.
What's that?
The combination of, mechanical and electronics to help with things like even our automotive. You know, a lot of our cars are now electronics, and it is this area of mechatronics that supports the the development in this area. And that is the short-term thing that we are looking to develop.
Okay.
But for long-term, we've brought in some really very intelligent guys who are looking at artificial intelligence. We are looking at a lot of emerging engineering technologies that can actually change the way we live. Because when it comes to cars, for example, very soon we'll be having self-driving cars. We can have robots driving us around. It is something that we've taken the first step of going into mechatronics and automotive, and we'll be advancing this with the support of artificial intelligence experts, so that in future, not only will Ghana be able to do our own cars, but we'll have the opportunity to also be abreast with technologies moving forward.
Wow.
Because it is predicted that in the next 15 to 20 years, there is a good chance that 80% of the jobs that we have will go because of technology. So we are putting ourselves in the position to support industry in the area of automotive, mechatronics, artificial intelligence, and a host of others.
Great. So that's one thing that you're thinking of doing. What other plans do you have?
We have been working with industry. We think that industry support is the key, should be the drive. The government should set the enabling environment in terms of policies for us to implement what we have. But industry, the uptake of what we do by industry is also very, very important. So strategic partnership with the Association of Ghana Industries, with Private Enterprise Federation, which we have initiated and doing some projects together, we believe, and also the media, I think you need to propagate what we do.
But I also
because
think, yes, it's
Winston,
important.
don't run away
No,
from
I'm not running away, because we have this
media,
conversation
you also
today.
have to really support us in this area. It is not about, musicians. Let's also find scientific celebrities. Instead of sometimes these young girls, I'm not saying what they do is not good. It's excellent, but then we also need to start thinking about having scientific celebrities that you can promote.
So let me get to something. You've talked about Private Enterprises Federation, AGI. We'll get to the media bit. How about individual players within the sector? Collaborating with them, pitching ideas to them, so they could use these researches that your outputs.
Yes, we are open to that, and we have pitched this to some individuals. But you should also agree with that when you go to an individual, the first thing they're looking for is profit. And in research, it takes time. Sometimes it will take about 10 years before you can actually break even with the research that you have developed. And some of them do go even beyond 10 years. So there are individuals who are interested that we are working with, but it is not on a bigger scale. And we're looking forward for individuals who have any ideas that they want to work with us or they want us to support them. I can call names, but it might not be important at this stage. We've pitched what we do here, especially in the area of sanitation, to a lot of big guys out there who could support this. But they are looking at profit first before they look at society.
Great. So let's get to one final area. Do you think we have done enough when it comes to developing our industrial sector?
No.
What aren't we doing right?
The government institutions that we have, most of them have collapsed. The private sector or the private companies that we had growing up, most of them have disappeared. Remember, we used to assemble cars in Ghana.
Yes.
Bedford.
I remember.
All of them have disappeared. So on record, we have not done well.
How about government policies? We've seen the talk of industrial parks. We've seen one being established at Dawa, the industrial enclave there. Is that not enough commitment to developing the sector?
It is enough, but they've not given us one yet. So I am hoping that CSIR will be given the opportunity to have one of those industrial parks so that we can start from what we grow, what we research into, up until what we process them into become a product using CSIR technology. I think this will be a good demonstration of what we do and what we can do locally to support both the government and the industry. So talking about industrial park, I am hoping that I'm praying that one day, we've put it forward, one day we'll be called to say that you've been allocated this industrial park, CSIR, go and demonstrate your technology. And then the whole Ghana will know what CSIR does.
You're waiting for government to allocate one to you?
We have requested for one.
From government?
Yes.
You can't get one yourself?
We can get one ourselves.
So
but
what are you waiting for?
But you see, when it is tied into the government policies, the environment is created. If you produce any products and it is somehow driven and supported with the government policy, then it is easier.
What's your take on the one district, one factory?
It's one of the brilliant ideas you will ever have.
Implementation?
That is where I have issues.
What are those issues?
The number one issue with one district, one factory, probably is that we are not part of it. That's just a joke. I think to implement this, we should have taken our time to do more research because we already had the industries. They collapsed. So we need much more detailed information on what we could do differently. But it looks like it's about a similar idea of what you used to have, Bedford and a host of old Ghanaian companies. The only difference I see here is that the private sector is much more involved. So the idea is brilliant, but we should also try and make it a national policy rather than a political party's policy. Because we are saying the same thing, whether it is NDC, MPP, PPP, ZZZ, we all want to see industrialization in Ghana. So whatever name is given to it, it doesn't matter. So we should do more work in making it a national policy of industrialization of Ghana than to say that one district, one factory, and it is MPP government that brought it. There was a lot of conversation, disagreement. Mama at some point said that NDC brought it, Nanado, MPP, whoever brought it, we don't care. What we want to see is a national policy so that if Nanado is not there and there is another person there, you continue with this.
But if you had gotten involved, what would you have done differently?
We will have put in more research into what we do and also to help with product development and to help with quality assurance and to take advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade so that the products developed at the one village, one district, one dam.
One factory.
One factory could be sold to the region.
Are these missing?
I think at the moment they are missing.
Dr. Francis Boateng-Ejenim, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Folks, that'll be all from us. Thank you very much for being part of the show. My name is Winston Amoa. On behalf of the team, thank you so much. Up next is JoyNews Prime. Do have a lovely evening.